This is Sarah Blyth. Okay, she's not an advocate, City News. She's a poverty pimp. The city has failed people forced to sleep outside in the snow. Guess what? You can look at my YouTube channel. Someone sleeping out in the snow for 12 hours, couldn't get him to move. You know, maybe it's a drug problem. This is a poverty pimp drug pusher. And you can just look at the statistics of the death. It's almost as much as euthanization in British Columbia. A failure to help, you're the person that actually got people to live in the tents. You've been promoting tents for homes. People on hard drugs, and you know they're unhousables, a lot of them. They can't live inside. They keep getting kicked out as long as you keep them on drugs, hard drugs, Fentanyl drugs. So let's just take a listen and see what we have.
In Vancouver's downtown east side says she found multiple people asleep on the ground covered in snow, and she's criticizing the city for what she says is a failure to help its most vulnerable during a crisis and major snowstorm. Sarah Blyth with the Overdose Prevention Society shared these photos online. One of a person asleep in the snow, another person slumped in a wheelchair.
I found a guy, he was outside sleeping with no blanket, no nothing, no tarp, just with snow all over him. And I woke him up this morning and made sure that he got to a shelter. But I was looking around on the streets this morning. There's lots of people in that situation.
Vancouver City Councillor Rebecca Blyth says the city has been helping people, but if someone spots a person in a medical emergency, they should call 911 or call 311 to help someone get inside a shelter space.
Well, I understand there is cause for concern when we see people outside who need help, who need to be brought indoors. Our city staff are working across the city. Of course, we do have sort of more folks in the downtown east side who are struggling with homelessness, who need supports, but of course we also have homelessness right across our city, so they are spread out right across our city.
But Blyth says the city needs to be more proactive in helping unhoused people get to shelter spaces, as many don't have cell phones to get shelter information or they have mobility issues. On top of that, she says they're having trouble securing spots inside.
And seeing them outside in the morning and talking to them about that there isn't enough spaces and that they're standing in lineups and they're going from one shelter to the next and ending up outside for the whole night and sort of just giving up and hoping that they survive the night.
Ahead of the snowstorm, park rangers have been enforcing tenting bylaws in Oppenheimer Park, taking unhoused people's shelters and belongings in the past 2 weeks, even during that Arctic blast last week, with many criticizing the city for its actions during inclement weather.
And of course, we continue to work with the nonprofits like UGM and others.
None of you guys have mentioned the elephant in the room, the huge pink elephant. Hard drugs and mental illness. And you know people on hard drugs don't get proper mental health. It's not even possible when you're on hard drugs.
Others, as well as the province, in a recent additional funding to make sure that we can work in partnership to meet the need that is great on our streets right now.
In Vancouver, Keir Junos, City News.
Well, that was horrible. And that was really horrible this morning. And last night, seeing that guy covered in snow, and he didn't want to move. But he finally picked himself up and left while I was having a nap. And Sarah never mentioned that they're on hard drugs. They're unhousables. They keep getting evicted. Neither of the Blyths or City News mentioned that. You know, they're on hard drugs, okay? Deal with that issue and deal with why they're not being looked after. But for somebody like Sarah Blyth, advocate, no, she's a poverty pimp. She's been pushing people in tents. She had a big year and a half of turning our streets into a giant toilet. Sarah Blyth should recognize personal hygiene and the fact, where the hell is science? Science, our streets are not toilets. Outdoor toilets make people sick. Or the diseases down here that she created. But imagine, she went on a year and a half, and there was snow too, and they had them in the tents, and fires, and exploding propane tanks, and some people died. Shame on you, Sarah. Oh, you don't feel shame. You have psychopathy.